Lila had always been fascinated by the unknown. Her love for the supernatural led her to study ancient texts, attend occult workshops, and even conduct séances with her friends. It was all fun and games until she found the book. It was a chilly autumn evening when Lila discovered the old, leather-bound tome at a second-hand bookstore. The shop owner, an elderly woman with a knowing look in her eye, handed it to her without a word. The book was worn, its cover etched with strange symbols. As Lila flipped through the pages, she felt an eerie chill run down her spine. Despite her unease, she bought the book and hurried home. That night, Lila couldn't resist the urge to read it. She settled into her room, lit some candles, and opened the book. The pages were filled with dark rituals and incantations. One passage caught her eye, a summoning ritual to call forth a powerful demon named Astaroth. The text claimed that Astaroth could grant immense knowledge and power, but at a great cost. Curiosity overpowered her better judgment. Lila decided to perform the ritual. She drew a circle of salt on her bedroom floor, placed black candles at each cardinal point, and recited the incantation. The room grew cold and the candle flames flickered violently. Lila felt a presence, but nothing happened. Disappointed, she blew out the candles and went to bed, thinking the ritual had failed. That night, she woke at exactly 3:03 a.m. A sense of dread washed over her as she glanced at the clock. Her room felt different, oppressive. The shadows seemed to shift and twist. She heard a faint whisper, but couldn't make out the words. Convincing herself it was just her imagination, she eventually fell back asleep. The next day, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She felt watched, followed by an unseen presence. As the days passed, the occurrences became more frequent and intense. Objects moved on their own, strange symbols appeared on her walls, and the whispers grew louder, always at 3:03 a.m. Lila confided in her best friend, Sarah, who suggested they seek help from a priest. Father Matthews was a kind, middle-aged man who listened patiently as Lila described her experiences. He agreed to bless her house and perform an exorcism if necessary. That evening, he arrived at Lila's home with holy water, a crucifix, and a Bible. As Father Matthews began the blessing, the atmosphere in the house changed. The temperature dropped, and an unnatural stillness settled over them. When he started reading from the Bible, a low growl echoed through the room. The priest continued undeterred, but Lila could see the fear in his eyes. Suddenly, Lila was thrown across the room by an invisible force. She landed hard, pain shooting through her body. The growl turned into a sinister laugh. The shadows coalesced into a dark figure with burning red eyes. Astaroth had been summoned. Father Matthews shouted prayers, but the demon was too strong. It moved towards Lila, who was paralyzed with fear. The demon's eyes locked onto hers, and she felt its malevolent presence invade her mind. Astaroth spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, promising her power and knowledge if she surrendered to him. Lila struggled, but the demon's influence was overpowering. Her body convulsed as Astaroth took control. Father Matthews continued to pray, his voice growing louder, more desperate. Lila's vision blurred, and she felt herself slipping away. The last thing she heard before darkness consumed her was the priest's fervent prayers. When Lila awoke, she was in a hospital bed. Sarah was by her side, tears in her eyes. Father Matthews had managed to expel the demon, but it had taken a toll on Lila. She felt weak, her body and mind exhausted from the ordeal. Sarah explained that they had found Lila unconscious and brought her to the hospital. The doctors couldn't explain her condition, but she knew the truth. Astaroth was still there, lurking in the shadows of her mind, waiting for another chance to take over. As the days turned into weeks, Lila struggled to regain control of her life. She moved back in with her parents, who were supportive but skeptical of her story. She couldn't sleep, fearing the demon would return at 3:03 a.m. She was constantly on edge, always looking over her shoulder. Father Matthews continued to visit, offering prayers and guidance. He taught Lila how to protect herself, how to resist the demon's influence. Slowly, she began to regain her strength, but the fear never truly left her. One night, months after the initial possession, Lila woke again at 3:03 a.m. Her heart pounded as she lay still, listening. The house was silent, but she felt the familiar presence. She reached for the crucifix Father Matthews had given her and whispered a prayer. The shadows in her room seemed to retreat, and for the first time in months, Lila felt a sense of peace. She knew Astaroth was still out there, waiting for a moment of weakness, but she was determined to fight. She would not let the demon control her life. Years passed, and Lila learned to live